The fit on this kit is much better than I made it look. Other than cleaning up a few seams, everything came together easily. But if you look closely, you'll see a couple of iffy joints and gaps. That wasn't the model's fault. The key takeaway on this section of the video was that I picked up my first set of reading glasses about a week after I started this build. It gives me a chance to show you how to fix it. There's not much to the cockpit detail, but if you wanted to use the open canopy that's included with the kit, it does have the scope for adding detail. Because I was going for a closed canopy, the only detail I went for was to give the impression of the colours of the items that are inside. The propeller has the classic red spinner that stands out and adds great colour to catch the viewer's attention. And I went for a metallic in the wheel wells. This might not be the right colour. Check your references and let me know in the comments. Because I'm brush painting, all of these paints were thinned almost 1-to-1 with Windex. This was to preserve the detail. The cost was an extra few coats for each. Blue I used is not quite right. It shouldn't be an aqua. The real colour, called azure, looks like it's sitting on the edge between light blue and light purple. After weathering, it'll look fine. The sandy colour was Vallejo white and yellow mixed with Tamiya red brown. People will say not to mix those brands of paint because they are chemically quite different, and they are probably right, but I've never had an issue. I made it too light. The real colour, called middle stone, is darker and more yellow. The darker colour was Tamiya red brown mixed with Vallejo white and yellow. What can I say? The real colour, dark earth, is less red and darker. I tell you all this for full disclosure, but you'll see it all comes together with weathering. I'm referring to the paint scheme on the box and using the panel lines for reference. Like for the belly, the paint is deliberately very thin. This is to minimise the loss of detail and brush strokes. The nice thing about acrylic is that you clean up the edges with a cotton bud dipped in Windex or water. Don't use alcohol. I learned that the hard way. Here I'm using paint as a gap filler. It does the job for surprisingly large gaps. Other than that, I was just sharpening up some edges. And maybe jumping ahead to a touch of weathering. I threw on a quick all-over coat of gloss. This flattened out any brush strokes and left a smooth surface ready for the next step. You won't see it, but I used Mr. Hobby Mr. Mark Softer. The decals in the kit worked really well with it, and by the end they looked painted on. There's always one, isn't there? Another quick coat of gloss. My aim here is more to soften the minute step at the edge of the decals so that none of the weathering products catches in it or breaks the illusion of the marking being painted on. Applied a wash of black and brown acrylic, diluted about 1 to 10 paint to thinner. The video didn't come out. It was beautifully focused on the backs of my hands. So once the wash had settled into the panel lines and dried, I set about removing most of it from the model. At least until I got the effect I was after. That is, breaking up the flatness of the colour, not necessarily wanting every panel line standing out. The control surfaces weren't easy to distinguish from the panel lines, so I emphasised them with pencil. And then I started chipping. I went okay for the prop. The chipping didn't take on the glossy surface, so I gave everything a quick coat of matte clear. Here I am chipping and adjusting the chipping. I did this a few times. I was focused on the wing roots and the ammo bays. I then faded the paint by applying spots of the base colour that had been lightened with a little bit of white, and then rubbing it in. I only did this on the upper flat surfaces that caught the most sun. This also toned down the chipping, which I'll admit was quite over the top up to this point. Last step was a dark black and brown wash for oil streaking down the belly and also the exhaust stains. Hurricanes always have a distinctive set of triangular stains on the gear doors from the oil that flows past there in flight. I find that powdered graphite rubbed into matte black is as good as any gunmetal paint. Here we have some old school sprue stretching. Super glue at each end and it's all sorted. Touch of matte varnish to blend in the glue spots. And dark metal paint for the antenna itself. I did the canopy framing with Decals. I got some inkjet decal paper and used the graphics program to print a bunch of 0.3mm dark green lines. On top of that, I applied a coat of the sand colour. This gave me the interior colour under the exterior colour in the one decal strip that was about 0.5 mm wide. The rest was applying them. All the fun of painting canopy frames with all the fun of long thin decals. I hope you enjoy the show. I always try to pick out the lights, even on small 1/72nd scale aircraft models. They add detail and colour, and this helps sell the idea in the viewer's head that the model represents reality. I added clear gloss coat with a touch of black added to it to add some depth. The landing lights were the biggest challenge. The standard approach is a silver or white rectangle. But when I've paid attention to this feature on a real Hurricane, the reflector standing out from the dark airframe green coloured background is what I've seen. That's what I was aiming for here. And with that final touch, we are done.